You are Locked On Wolves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
T-Wolves with a dominating bounce-back win tonight in Chicago, 136-101. That's your final. Naz Reid with a team-high 33 points leading the way. What's going on back in the lab, back at it? Another episode of the T-Wolves Postcast, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which, thanks to you guys, the #1 sports podcast network. That's Jack Borman. He's a Wolves expert. He's an NBA expert. You got to give him a follow on X at JRBorman13. Luke Inman right here at Luke_Spinman. And, of course, another must-follow, our guy, Ben Beacon, host of the Locked On Timberwolves show as well. Lots to get into, Jack. Player of the game, biggest X factor, plus what we'll be talking about tomorrow. But just kind of just start off the top, right? Wolves coming off, I mean, you can make a case, maybe the most disappointing, most embarrassing loss of the year thus far, Saturday night against the Nets at home. You're 12-point favorites. You end up losing by double digits. Just not a very good outing. Now you got to go on the road for 4 in a row. It starts tonight in Chicago. But they bounced back nicely. They came to play. Worth noting, too, Coby White left this game in the first quarter with a calf. Didn't return. Josh Giddey left the game, I want to say in the third quarter as well, did not return. But nonetheless, Wolves were kind of in cruise control by the fourth quarter and ran away with this thing, got back to the basics to some degrees, which we'll get into. Naz Reid, Julius Randle leading the way. 136-101, 21-12 now on the year. Big picture, kind of knee-jerk reaction. They needed this one to kind of get back on track, get their bearings right after Saturday night's kind of no-show, did they not?
Yeah, they certainly did. And I just think for the Wolves, it was great to see them take care of the basketball, right? I think that's where a lot of their offensive issues have been this season, has not necessarily been with a lot of missing shots taking them out of the flow. It's been with turnovers taking them out of the flow. So I think 32 assists to 5 turnovers is an excellent mark. That's a 6.4 assist to turnover ratio. It's easily their best of this season. The Bulls scored just 7 points off of those 5 turnovers. So the Wolves did a really good job of limiting a team in Chicago that really, really likes to run off of stops, off of makes, you name it, to only 12 fast break points. They outscore them 20-12 on the break is awesome. And the Timberwolves core rotation guys did not have a turnover in the second half, right? The only guys who had turnovers in the second half were end of the bench guys with Johan and Lenny near the end of the game. And, a part of a huge third quarter as well, right? Wolves had 40 points, 0 turnovers. Ant had 12, Naz had 10, Randle had 6 dimes in the quarter alone. So it was just great to see them kind of really find it offensively for an extended stretch. I think for a team that is kind of waxed and waned there, that was really important for them, especially, as Jim Peep pointed out in the broadcast, playing a lot of teams that are going to get up and down as part of this, I think, 7-game stretch of playing Eastern Conference opponents. And then it was really good to see the bench get going early. I think, we'll get to Naz, obviously had 33 points by himself, but 68 bench points is absolutely incredible for the Timberwolves. And then, when you also think about, just how well that bench shot it early, especially, I mean, the bench scored 21 of the Timberwolves' first 30 points. I can pretty confidently say that the Timberwolves have not really had a game like that this season. And the bench, 50, 53, 40, 91 shooting splits off the bench. So, really, really efficient in the way that they operated. And that was nice to have, especially considering that the Timberwolves starters were somewhat flat offensively, at least in terms of shooting. Still thought they moved it well in that opening quarter, but Ant and Julius Randle had 1 combined point through the first 17 minutes or so. So to have Naz and Jalen and Bones, all play really well in the, kind of their first stretches of the game was really great. And then for Rudy and Dante, again, I've talked about it while you've been gone. Good to have you back, obviously, here. But for
thanks for
Rudy
holding
and
down
Dante,
the fort here, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. Rudy and Dante, I think, have just been totally dominating and doing the dirty work as a big and guard, respectively, right? So for Rudy, it's contesting all these shots, boxing guys out. He had 4 blocks and 10 boards, just 30 minutes played. And again, for the Bulls, right? They got into the paint quite a bit in that first quarter. They had 20 paint points. They had 30 the rest of the game, which is great. And Rudy did an awesome job of limiting them once they did get into the paint. Shot just 50% at the rim. Again, that's a great number. And then Dante DiVincenzo, right, in this game, tied a team high plus 28 in 26 minutes, had 6 boards. He just has a knack for finding all these 50-50 balls and generated a ton of pace off of stops. And I think for Dante, he's kind of been their designated hit ahead guy, where whoever's getting a rebound is looking for Dante in transition, because he's been an excellent transition decision maker and can obviously pull up and knock down a three with pretty much any time he gets across half court. So putting all those things together, it was a really great night for the Timberwolves, and certainly one that they'll look to build off here as they hope to rattle off 3, 4, 5 wins here over the next week plus against Eastern Conference teams.
Yeah, I want to circle back to that later on in segment 2, but let's get into our player of the game, hand out some flowers, hand out some love with our game MVP.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Obviously, you touched on the A topic, Naz Reid, 33 points, but just combing the box score here, Julius, 17 points. You mentioned this already, but 14 assists. Felt like 11 of those 14 were for a three-pointer shot, by the way. Rudy Gobert, you talked about him, 10 boards, 9 points, DDV, 12 points. And then, again, the bench, as you mentioned, man, not just Naz Reid, but Bones with 12 points, Jalen Clark with 11 points in 19 minutes. But you got to pick one here, Jack, game MVP. Who was it and why?
Yeah, it's got to be Naz Reid for me. I think, I've been kind of thinking, man, we're missing these big Naz Reid games.
Yeah.
The other night against the Nets, when Cam Thomas goes for 30 plus in just like 20 minutes or whatever he played, and sure enough, it took Naz just one game after that to come right back with one of his own. 33 points, was 5 of 8 from 2, 6 of 10 from 3. Also contributed on the glass. Wasn't just a one-way contributor. Had 7 rebounds, and then had 3 assists and 1 turnover. So, made a couple of really nice extra passes. And then when he did drive the ball, didn't turn it over, and got to the free throw line 5 times. All those were on jump shots, but still good to see him be really aggressive. And I think, again, not very often that Naz Reid leads the team in field goal attempts. He had 5 more than any other Timberwolves player did tonight. But again, you just like to see Naz continue to be more aggressive, especially on nights where the Timberwolves get off to a slow start. I think, when Naz came in, he did a really good job of just kind of sensing that shots weren't falling, and really did a good job of, if he had an open shot, he just took it. He didn't hesitate. He didn't, ponder, should I shoot it? Should I drive? He just kind of got the ball out of his hands quickly. And I think that kind of confidence that he displayed right away early on was important. I mean, he had 8 points in the first, 3 minutes that he was on the floor. And so that was really important to, I think, kind of open the floodgates. I mean, for a Timberwolves team to have 136 points tonight, that's obviously a great mark. Don't get me wrong. But the Timberwolves had 21 points in the first quarter, and they did not shoot the ball particularly well in the first quarter. They were 7 of 20 for 21 points in the first quarter. So for them to come out and put up 115 over the following 3 quarters is pretty impressive. And I think you got to give Naz a lot of credit for the way that I think he just poured a lot of energy into his teammates with the way that he was able to come off the bench and provide that spark right away. And it's, can be cliche, but again, I mean, he did that in the first quarter, and then had 15 straight points in, bridging the third and fourth quarters together. So it's just a huge night from Naz, and hopefully he can really keep it going now, because, he had 33 tonight, but he hadn't had a 15 plus point game in the last 4. So I think for Naz, that's just kind of the watermark that you want to see from him, in between 15 and 20 every single night. And so hopefully that can get him rolling.
Let's get into the biggest turning point from tonight as well.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
You just touched on it. They only scored 21 in the first quarter. They're down 7 halfway through about the second quarter. And then it felt like, Ant checks back in, but they just kind of flipped that switch even without Ant. It just kind of found another gear, it felt like. But you tell me, though, I mean, was there one moment or one sequence that really kind of ended up feeling like maybe the difference and helped them kind of put it all together and kind of run away with this thing by the end?
Yeah, you very easily could have said when Naz Reid checked into the game in the first quarter, but I'm going to go a little bit of a different route, and that's when Anthony Edwards checked into the game in the second quarter. The Wolves were down 39-32. He had only 1 point at this juncture. He had taken just 1 field goal attempt in the first quarter, despite playing the entire quarter. He just wasn't super aggressive. And granted, that was in part because Naz was playing well, but still, you would have liked to see your best player take more than 1 shot and try to impose his will on a pretty weak defense, early on in the game. But it was pretty clear that somebody talked to Ant before he checked back in the game, because he just came out firing right away. I mean, he scores 10 in a row. pretty quickly after checking in, leads a 15-2 run for the Wolves to go up. I think it was 3 or 4 at that point, and they didn't look back. I don't think they trailed from that point on. And I think for Ant, again, just 1 point in the first quarter, and then comes out and scores 22 in the second and third quarters combined. So I think for him, it's just his ability to put up points in a hurry, and I think just kind of create these avalanches that are just really demoralizing for an opponent defense. And it really felt like the Bulls defense did not have any real strategy or anybody that could stick with Ant in one-on-one situation. And the only thing they could really do was hope that he missed. And hope is certainly not a strategy in today's NBA, and certainly not going to help you when you got somebody who is as confident as Ant is, and just, I think, becomes an even more dangerous scorer once you see 1 or 2 shots fall, because that's when he starts to get that crazy blend of athleticism going downhill. He gets you on your heels and just makes it even tougher for you to defend. So it was a great night for Ant, despite him. Again, we say he only had 23 points, but he was super efficient, right? Yeah. 23 points, 9 of 13 from the floor, 4 assists to 1 turnover, also had a block. They'll take that every day of the week. And he was certainly a big factor in why the Wolves, not only took the lead, but then built a pretty big lead and didn't give it back.
Yeah, well said there. Plenty more deep dive, biggest X factor coming up, plus Johan Berenjay getting 6 minutes as well. Want to ask Jack about that. That's all coming up, though, right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by Monarch Money. Monarch Money, you ever go check your bank account and go, where'd my money go? Dining out, online shopping, so easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Not just another budgeting app, complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, your investments, your spending, all in one place, so you stop just managing your money. Instead, you start building some real wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com. You're getting 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA. You're getting half off your entire first year. This episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Without a doubt, most fun I have playing daily fantasy. You can win up to 25 times your money this NBA season. And why I love it, it's just so easy to play. All you got to do, you select 2 or more players. You pick more or less on their projected stats. It could be points, rebounds, assists, 3-pointers, you name it, they got it. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Right now, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA. You're getting a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code LockedOnNBA at prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. 100% bonus match up to $100. Last but not least, this episode brought to us by Built. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you gotta, might as well get something for it, right? That's where Built comes in. They're changing the game. They're turning rent into things you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points. Those points can be redeemed towards hundreds of hotels, airlines, future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, you name it, they got it. Turn your rent into rewards and start making points around your neighborhood. Go to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the link so they know we sent you. All right, before we get into what we'll be talking about, also got some quick hitters for you as well. I want to know the biggest X factor from tonight.
It's time to reveal who made the biggest under-the-radar impact with today's X Factor.
All right, you kind of already touched on a couple of these names, but if I made you pick one, biggest X Factor from tonight, who was it and why, Jack? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
My fault there. The biggest X Factor but for me tonight was just the dynamic guard play besides Ant and Julius Randle, right? I think both Dante and Bones did a great job in their respective roles. I think Dante fighting defensively as a chaser played very well in that role tonight. And then rebounding, right? He's been rebounding the ball really, really well for a guy his size as a guard. And I think a lot of them are contested, tough, 50-50 type of rebounds. And I think that's super important. I think it just gives energy to a lot of the other guys. And I think you need guys that are just going to bring positive energy to the game every single night. And I don't think that we can really sit here and say, well, Dante didn't play very hard tonight. I don't think that's really ever anything that we talk about with Dante, which is obviously great. And then made 4 of his 9 threes. And then for Bones Highland, right? I thought that Bones Highland, only played 14 minutes, but I thought that he was super important in the way that he came in in the second quarter and immediately scored, I think, the first 7 points of that quarter and kind of helped continue what Naz brought in that first quarter off the bench. Was really aggressive, can create his own shot. He's super comfortable playing in the pick and roll with Rudy, not only as a scorer, but also as a playmaker. You saw him have that nice lob to Rudy, which was great to see. And it was just part of, again, a really good playmaking night for the Wolves. I think we talked about Julius Randle. I thought that this was one of Julius Randle's best games as a Timberwolf. It's just unfortunate that it was a little bit overshadowed by how well Naz played. But for Julius Randle, a season high 14 assists. It was his 5th game having a points assist double-double as a Timberwolf this season. He had 3 all of last year. So really great to see him thrive just as a playmaker. It's the first time in his career he's ever had back-to-back 10 assist games. So I think, again, and Julius Randle did all that with 0 turnovers, right? So that for him to have even half of that would have been amazing. But for him to have 14 assists, 0 turnovers, and there weren't really any that looked even remotely close to being a turnover. I think he played very shakily on offense against the Nets. And just, even though he had 11 assists, a lot of them were kind of broken plays where he kind of lost control of the ball and flipped it out to somebody at the end of the shot clock. And in this game, it was the complete opposite. I just love the way that he was in complete control. They played him at the elbows and the slots, and he did a really good job of driving to spots on the floor where he could create open shots for others. And so for Randle to pair that with 5 rebounds, I think that's good. His defense, I thought he was a little bit more locked in off the ball as well. Not too many breakdowns there that resulted in open shots for the Bulls. So, I think between all 3 of those guys playing alongside Ant as kind of perimeter initiators and guys that need to play well off of Ant, all 3 of them did really, really well, playing very different but important roles tonight.
Rob Dillingham got 6 minutes at the end there. Johan Berenger got 6 minutes, 2 blocks in there as well, 3 boards. Just nice to see him getting some minutes actually off the bench. But what'd you like? Maybe you didn't like? Just kind of overall synopsis of those 2 guys and anybody else maybe in those garbage minutes that kind of stuck out a little bit.
Yeah, Rob Dillingham looked really confident, right? And I think, again, Chris Finch has proven to be a guy that values the way that players play, whether it's in regular season, regular rotation minutes, whether it's in practice or garbage time. And so for him to come out and play really confidently with the second unit or the third unit, that's exactly what you need from him. I thought he looked great. And then I feel like every single time Johan Berenger gets in the game, it's just like a holy bleep type of impact that he makes in terms of at least a couple plays where you're like, oh my goodness. And he certainly had that tonight. I mean, he didn't score, but he had 3 rebounds. He had 2 huge blocks in just 6 minutes. So really important, I think, to see those 2 guys continue to, prove like they don't, it's not like they look like they don't belong on an NBA floor. So I think for Rob, again, not the best Mike Conley night tonight, was a little bit invisible out there. But who knows? I mean, I think, again, Chris Finch is going to bake in these nights where Mike won't play. And so I think for Rob just to continue to come out and play with confidence. It's okay if some of the shots don't fall as long as he's making quick decisions, whether it's as a playmaker, as a scorer. So a performance to build off, hopefully for Rob, if Mike's going to get maybe 1 night on, 1 night off, or 2 nights on, 1 night off, whatever it might be. But I mean, you could make a half decent argument that Rob Dillingham should be playing over Mike Conley anyways, with the way that Mike's played this year, probably more than a half decent argument. And so I think, again, could be a decent opportunity too for them to try to see what they have, in Rob, maybe for one last gasp, or if, that becomes maybe a kind of a trade showcase, if you will.
This is what you'll be talking about.
All right, last 60 seconds real quick here. 1 of 4 now in a row on the road. That started tonight in Chicago. Never loved that. It's not a big deal, but never loved 4 in a row on the road. But 7 straight against Eastern Conference opponents now. So maybe a good little opportunity to go on a little run here, Jack, and get hot. Your thoughts on that, and also anything else on your mind tonight as well?
Yeah, I'd feel a little better if you didn't have 2 days off right around New Year's between Atlanta and Miami. But nonetheless, I do think that this is a team that's proven that they've been able to take care of business on the road. I think a lot of players have young kids at home. And for anybody who has young kids, I think you probably understand that it can take you out of your routine. You may not sleep quite as well. And I think everything's a little bit more regimented on the road. And so that helps. And it's part of a 7-game stretch against all Eastern Conference teams. And we know that for the most part, the East has been a lot worse than the West, not only this year, but in the past few years. So I think it should be a good little opportunity for the Wolves to get on a run in terms of winning some games. And then again, pretty significant NBA news tonight in that, Nikola Jokic suffered a really awkward injury to his knee right before halftime in Miami. So, and did not return to the game. And so there's no real initial word on how serious it is, but I mean, it takes a lot for Nikola Jokic to be down writhing in pain. And he was, and limped to the halftime locker room. So that's pretty significant Western Conference news as it pertains to the Wolves. And you look at some other teams now with the Thunder have some injuries. The Lakers have some injuries. Doesn't look really like LeBron is super engaged there either. And the quotes coming out of the Lakers right now just aren't great. So I think, again, looking around the West, it's a good opportunity for the Wolves to become, maybe get up towards that 2-3 seed line instead of being that 4 spot. So hopefully they can do some damage here while some other teams, unfortunately are missing some guys to injury.
Great stuff, man. Great to be back. Thanks for holding down the fort. T-Wolves big bounce back win in Chicago tonight, 136-101. That's your final. 21-12 now on the year. Much love to all you guys, all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. All you guys come in the chat with us from game to game as well. Love you guys. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Please go follow Jack at JR Borman 13. We'll catch you right back here New Year's Eve against Atlanta in Atlanta, 2 p.m. tip. Until then, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time. Signing out.